on to bad OCs. We're going to go back in the same order we presented good OCs. So, Commander, who did you bring on for bad OC?
Oh god, I forgot that it was the first one. Okay, so for my bad OC this week, I brought in on Saria. I looked at the name and I was like, how do I even say words? But Saria doesn't have very much backstory from what I could find, or story, or anything like that. I looked at a bunch of pictures. This is the one that had the most, so I went with this one. Anyways, so they pretty much are like, this is Saria, and she's a happy and caring pony. Spends pretty much her entire life on a hay farm outside of Ponyville. I'm assuming this is a farm away from the apples, because we'll just assume that, because that makes it fit in the canon a lot easier. With her cousin Derpface, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I'll get to that in a second. And she's skilled in tying up hay and farming it, given that it is her cutie mark. And she really likes kids and has very little respect and pretty much hates elders, because her grandfather, when she was a filly, abused her a lot. And so she's kind of like, fuck you old people, and loves kids. That's around the information that we have for the character. So I guess it's time to just jump into everything. I'll just sort of start with that whole dirt face thing. The first thing that when I read that was, the first thing I thought when I read that was, are they talking about Derpy? Or Ditzy, depending on who you are?
Bright Eyes.
Whatever name you want to assign to the
that weird one.
Wall-eyed pony. If so, that doesn't make any sense. If it's another one of your characters, then that makes more sense, and I can accept that a bit more, because I feel like if there's... I can't imagine Derpy being working outside of like on a hay farm during most of her time, but that's just me. And I'd also make it a little bit more clear what exactly you're trying to get at, just for what's the word, like brevity or whatever, clarity's sake. And it actually was brevity. It's a concise and exact use of words. Ha! Moving on to aesthetics. There are things, I mean, obviously, as with pretty much all characters, there's things I think that they did well, or at least moderately well. There are things that I think definitely need to be tweaked, in my opinion. I'm going to preface this with saying I don't have a problem with ponies having spots. It's not my favorite. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because, I mean, that happens to different animals and stuff like that. So and I've seen a lot of OCs do it well, but the contrast between that, like, tan and the black, which I'll give it to you that that's about as black as you ever want to go on your character, and you did that well, but I just think the contrast between them is definitely jarring. Especially with the having the white background does not help. And then, I don't know. And then also the eye color is, since yellow's I think having yellow could work depending on how you tweak other things, but I think the yellow is a bit saturated. Yellow's a weird color to work with in terms of saturation, like we said before, but I think it definitely comes off as a bit like sort of bright and in your face, and it's also hard to distinguish at times with the pure white of the eye, because I mean, and that's not really, there's not really much you can do about that one, because that's just how eyes are for ponies. But it's some of my opinions.
I am not a fan of the spots, because we haven't seen a character in the show yet with the spots, and I know, yes, real horses have those spots, but real horses also don't have horns or wings.
This is true.
No, am I saying is it impossible for a pony in the show to have spots? No. Am I saying it's highly unlikely? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you don't find a lot of what they call paint horses to be in the show.
Yeah, they got
or
Pipsqueak.
at all. Well, oh yeah, Pipsqueak. Well, he just has like the one spot on its eye though. So, I don't know. It
still is a spot, and he actually has more.
Oh, well.
The mane and the darker coat, like, while I'm not the biggest fan of them, I think that in terms of red, like having a red and black kind of color, I think that they do a decent job of trying to stay away from the, like, over the top, super saturated and dark red and black, blah, blah, blah. I think if you made that red a little bit lighter, it would work pretty well with the coat, as the black coat as it stands now, but I'm still not I don't know. I'm still not 100% sure on how I feel about the color palette as a whole.
None of it really ties into each other. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got the little bit of a red in the hay barrel, the haystack, cutie mark, but you know, it doesn't really tie into each other. Yeah, the eyes kind of tie into the kind of cream in the spot, but the mane just totally stands out from everything else and doesn't fit.
Yeah. I was just since you were sort of saying that, my mind started thinking maybe this would obviously be a lot of changing and stuff, but if you had the coat not be closer to that the spot color, but just make it a darker tan, and then make the red, keep that sort of red feeling to it, but make it a little bit more on the brown side of red, I think that could potentially work. And that would also lend towards the sort of earthy feelings that she works on a hay farm and stuff like that. But that's just an idea. I mean, take it as it is, use it as you want. But I think it would help improve. It's far from the worst OC we've ever had on the show, but
there's still improvement that can be made.
There's definitely still room for improvement, but I think the character has the creator has enough of an idea of the kind of character that they are, and I know they have a decent few pictures, of course, so changing it's always a pain, but I think that there's room for this character to shape into at least a pretty decently well done character, like a character that people would look at and be like, I like that OC. Not something that off puts them like sometimes OCs that do things a bit differently do. But that's just my opinion.
Well, alright then. Next up, we have my bad OC this week, which is BaconStrips. I talked about in my last OC that one was pretty basic and not that much to go off of, other than the fact that it was the stereotypical teacher pony. Well, this one's just basic and bland and doesn't really do anything else. Some people might say that, it's a pony creator OC. Well, actually, no. This is actually a base from a pony creator sort of thing. There are little adjustments and little things that they've made to it. It's not a direct rip from pony creator, so that's why it makes it into our submissions.
It's just really close.
It's really freaking close, and it's obviously based off of Pony Creator, and is another reason why it's a bad OC in my book, but we'll get to that in a second. Their special talent is bacon. They have a friend named Starburst. Their favorite color is all colors of raw bacon, and their favorite food is bacon. Because, ponies. They love bacon, right?
Yeah.
They're not, herbivores and they only eat plants and fruit and whatnot. No, they love bacon. It's one of these things that it almost feels like this pony is just a meme character. It's pretty much making a bacon-colored idea pony out of the sheer joke of ha 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 bacon. So you can do that with ponies, and I've seen those kind of joke ponies work out fine. Like the America pony I brought on for our 4th of July episode. That was a joke pony, but yet it was a joke pony done well. It actually took somewhat tactfulness and design style to make a pony like that seem decent or, functional. But if you're just making something off of a base, off of Pony Creator, off of something like that, half of your problem is half of what you're trying to tell the audience is lost at that point. Because what do you have that really says bacon about this pony other than the cutie mark and the one band around the arm? Absolutely nothing. Literally nothing on this pony other than the cutie mark and the band on her arm tells me anything about bacon. Yeah, it's brown. Raw bacon is sort of a brownish color, but other than that, nothing. So when you're thinking about things like this, it's one of these things that you gotta think about other ways you can influence the character's design more than just making a few things that are obvious to the eye. You have to make subtle additions to it. Not all raw bacon or bacon in general is just brown either. I
very rarely see brown in bacon.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I always see like red. The light fleshy pink and red.
Pink and red.
Pink and red. Yeah, it's one of these things that I don't know. It seems like I said, it's a joke piece. It wants to be a joke, but it's a joke that's not well crafted. Other than that, it as a pony by itself, I think it works for just a monochromatic pony. It works just fine for being that. The color in the eyes works out great, and it blends with the mane and the coat, though having a little bit more deviation in the color for just a regular pony would be a little bit better. Lightening the coat a little bit, maybe darkening the hair just a smidge. Making these small adjustments to it, I think would be the best. Just to make it a pony. Yeah. And possibly maybe even for the joke side of it as well.
I don't understand the bacon on the arm.
How does that even work?
Unless she's like wearing an armband.
Which would be interesting.
Ooh, that could be a thing, because I know that...
Her colors aren't bad.
Yeah, it's not bacon.
I don't know if she's wearing shoes or not.
I believe those are supposed to be her hooves.
Okay, then that just looks wrong, because they look like shoes.
They do kind of look like shoes.
It's a Pony Creator thing.
I'm going to pretend they're shoes, and it makes my life feel better.
I guess
yeah.
Her cutie mark is fine.
It's bacon. I like bacon.
Technically speaking, it follows all the rules of cutie marks.
Yeah. And if the talent is just bacon, it's bacon. You should put it on both sides, though.
Her colors aren't bad with each other. I honestly really have nothing negative to say, because there's nothing negative really to bring up.
Other than the fact that pretty much a slightly bland. Commander, what were you going to say about the armband?
I was just thinking that, if you want to actually craft this into sort of a pony that has this quirk of bacon, have an accessory like an armband, because you could have that sort of tritonal, or, well, two tones, but you maybe repeat the darker red like you have on that the quote unquote armband there. On the pony, maybe it's if she has a workout garb or something like that, have just little tiny things like that. That could be just a really funny thing. Just make it so she's just obsessed with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
And that's lending to what I said earlier about the fact that if you're making a joke character that she has this obsession with bacon, accent that. Don't do it just to... Whenever making a character or a personality or something, I was always told to make it to a level 10. If you're going to be making a certain aspect of their personality or whatever this, make it a level 10. That way it's like, okay, yeah, she is obsessed with bacon. She lives, breathes everything about bacon. So that when you make a character about bacon who loves bacon and can't get enough of it or whatever, or her levels of obsession with this thing, make almost everything about her. And give her, like Commander said, a bacon armband. Give her bacon socks. Like a shirt that says, I love bacon or something. Like really amp it up to be this joke character, if that is in fact what you're going for. And maybe we're just misreading into it or whatnot. We are going to move on to Smooth's Bad OC.
This is Musica Cherry. She also goes by Sherry and actually prefers to be called that. Her cutie mark is an MP3 player with cherry-styled earbuds, which it represents her, working on a cherry farm and her love of music, but as we've said in the past, like, with most of the time it happens with art cutie marks, like with loving painting and loving music. Things like that just don't really make sense together.
Yeah. And it's not to say, like we sort of mentioned with one of the earlier characters, you can work on a cherry farm and like music, but it doesn't have to be part of the cutie mark.
But dual talenting like that just seems really...
Well, I mean, it could be...
really out of place.
You could totally go with, like, a double meaning of the cutie mark. Like, she's a cherry picker, so I think it says that her talent... Or do you want me to wait till you get there?
I already said it.
Well, the talent.
Okay, her talent of making digital music. You could use the term cherry-picking sound bits for her music.
Is that seriously a thing?
Yeah, cherry-picking is picking the best or worst parts of something to make your thing better.
I feel like that's not the exact definition or context, but cherry-picking is a thing.
So you could totally be she cherry-picks her music.
Though, I do feel that is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
I think it fits pretty fine.
Currently she is training at a musical institute for her digital musicking, I assume.
Yeah.
She lives in Natropolis. She likes cherries, musicals, not music, but musicals, and dancing. I feel it's kind of out of place that she likes musicals more than music itself, because she seems so, digital music and music-themed, but then musicals, which is actually more of acting than music.
Though maybe...
Most of the time.
Yeah, true. I'd say maybe, maybe they just feel that it's just so implied with the character that you don't really need to restate it, which I personally would state it again.
It was restated about the cherries, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seems like it's just it seems like it's going against itself in that regard, then. Like, one thing is so obvious, but the other isn't. Also dancing, which implies more to the other parts of the fine arts in comparison to music, where music just still isn't stated at all. It just seems odd. Maybe, and I guess unfortunately the only way I can think of fixing that, besides changing who she is completely, is just putting music in her likes, which is a really, really simple thing to do, and makes me sound like a complete and total idiot for even saying this point at all.
Yeah.
She dislikes spiders, pestering, which I assume means pestering others, or being pestered, or the very idea of pestering.
I feel it's probably that.
And tests.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She has claustrophobia, pyrophobia, and fear of cages. She likes being playful, almost, or basically to the point of messing around and teasing others and stuff like that. But on the flip side, she does not enjoy when it's done to her. So it's almost like a hypocrisy kind of thing. Like, she can do it to others, that's perfectly fine, but do it to me, it's a thing that real people do, and that makes me like, ha, real things. I don't like real things.
The character feels more like they're they're about music, and then aesthetically, I definitely can see the whole Cherry thing. And they mention that she works at a cherry farm, and yeah, okay. This is something I should bring up. Like, I guess it talks about her background on the cherry farm. She doesn't work there currently. She's currently like training in a musical institute, so I guess is at school basically. Makes music for a living, likes doing that. She has cherries, but it just feels like the cherry thing could be part of an entirely different character, and the music part of this character would lose pretty much nothing.
Yeah, it seems like she should be based almost more on musicals, because she loves musicals and she loves dancing and she musics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely some discontinuities.
The cherry part of it just seems really lacking. You can still have this pony like grow up on a cherry farm and like cherries and stuff like that, but like
don't
I don't
try
know,
and
something about it being part of her name and being in her cutie mark just seems like too much, and I'm not sure why.
Well,
like, having a background is fine, and going anywhere from that background is fine and great and all, but background doesn't necessarily make who you are, and moving anywhere from, especially farming background, kind of means that your background doesn't necessarily define you at all in the slightest, maybe.
Yeah.
Because the arts and farming have next to nothing in common at all. It's just hard to mesh things together. Like, once again, with the character I brought on for good, Cloudy Belle, she had, like, other things she liked, but they didn't define her.
Yeah.
Like, I guess the cherry part would be the part that she likes, but doesn't define her. Even if it's where she came from, it wouldn't. It just seems odd to make it the, like, half of who this character is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I feel the thing that's also really weird is, like, because if you just had the music thing be the character, like, pretty much you get rid of the cherries and the cutie mark, and that, I feel that, I mean, I would change the cutie mark as a whole, because especially once you get rid of the cherries, it doesn't make as much sense. But once you do that, I mean, the only thing that you really get a feeling for, oh yeah, this character has to do with cherries, is the, like color palette and the coat and, like, or not coat, but the mane and stuff like that, which I definitely get more of, like, that sort of cherry feeling than anything to do with music. I definitely wouldn't get anything to do with music from the character sheet, which I feel like that's the biggest source of my discontinuity with this character, is the fact that aesthetically it doesn't match what they seem to be presenting the character as in the story.
Everything just really mixes weird.
Yeah. That being said, I think the character is designed really well. Like, not perfect. I don't really like the darkest color in the mane, and I think the lightest one could be... The darkest and the lightest are in my opinion.
Yeah. The lightest seems like it could be brought down a bit. The darkest either removed or made a lot brighter. The second darkest maybe desaturated a little bit and maybe made a little bit brighter.
Yeah. But aside from that, I think that the characters, it's not that bad. I like the design and flow of the mane. The tail doesn't seem too bad. I think they're designed well. That's one thing I just sort of get annoyed because you have this character that looks really good, and I like the story. The story isn't bad by any means, but I just don't feel it like it feels almost like two different characters. She's generally pretty cute. I like
Yes.
I like the use of sort of green in some of the accessories. Cause
Yeah, the use of colors in general is really good.
yeah, I'd say it's definitely one of the strongest things about the pwn.
The main, obviously, is part that's kind of but I really like the brown.
Oh
and
yeah,
the yellow,
the brown's
and the
brown's
green.
really good.
The green works, and
Yeah,
the red's just a bit weird and stuff.
yeah, but I think
Actually, to help out with like all of the colors on this character, maybe just to make it that second lightest red. It might not actually work, but I'd say try that out. If that doesn't work, maybe make it a middle color between the second lightest and the second darkest.
wait, when you're
once
saying
again,
it, you mean
The main,
Okay.
just one color.
oh.
If that doesn't work, I guess keep trying around. And we said quite a few things for the main, didn't we?
I think we said a decent few.
Well then, let's move on to the final bad OC, Medi.
Okay, yes, this is Tsubasa.
Tsubasa?
Is it just Tsubasa with the T there?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
silent T's?
Yeah.
Yep.
Tsubasa is a god of the underworld, and he's like an angel of death. He lives a never-ending life in the underworld and watches over the lifespans of ponies and who live on the surface. But after a while of this years of just watching surface dwellers die, it kind of drove him mad. And he was imprisoned beneath Equestria, where he sleeps while 5 of the eldest Reapers take charge over the matters of life and death. This would be all very interesting if, and this is only a suspicion, but I base the suspicion on lots of images on this OC and his main attire, this isn't ripped straight from an anime. Specifically Soul Eater. Because if you notice his cutie mark, or his bloodstained cutie mark, or whatever you want to call that, that is the exact same symbol as the main antagonist of Soul Eater. The fleshy covering of him also is a huge symbol to the main antagonist of Soul Eater.
Fleshy? I thought those were like bandages.
They're bandages, but they are the same fleshy color as the one in Soul Eater. And I just feel like a lot of these ideas are taken from Soul Eater, and without any real credit given to them that I can see.
Seems more like just ripping from it than making an homage.
Yeah. Specifically, the backstory of this character is basically the backstory. There was maybe 2 or 3 was like him being the main angel. It seems like they were trying to imply is a difference, but that's such a slight difference that it's almost like they changed 1 or 2 things and then called it original. When very much this is this would be fine if they claimed it was an homage or tried to say also this comes from Soul Eater, but without that, this just seems a little rip-offish to the.
And if it's not, then you got really unlucky.
Yeah.
So, I've never seen Soul Eater. I don't know anything about Soul Eater, But from at least my first perspective, I thought this was a really interesting pony. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here, but But then again, it's like I don't know Soul Eater, so I guess if you say that it is a kind of ripoff or homage, I'm likely to believe you. But from where I'm standing, it looks like a good pony. I like this character a lot. I mean, that story seems fairly interesting. A little dark and edgy, but, you know, not to the point where it becomes obnoxious or crazy. I like it. I like the styling. I like the sort of feathers around the bat wings. I like the hook and the horn. That's a little different. The hairstyling's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, the design of this pony is fantastic. I like it a lot. But and I don't know how I would feel going into this pony if I didn't know about Soul Eater, because I probably would have selected it as maybe a good OC or a good part 2, like the not as good as the good OC. But I mean, knowing what I do, and knowing how I think Soul Eater wasn't that like super popular for a while.
I think it's somehow coming back.
Soul Eater's pretty popular.
And like, just like a little. It's like when I run into like recolors and people refuse to like tag the original, and you know where the original comes from, or when people post art of something and you know where the original comes from and you don't see like a tag link or someone claiming it as their own, it's just a little irritating. And if this has nothing to do with Soul Eater and these are all way too coincidental coincidences,
You'll eat your hat.
then I am sorry for that, but I'm almost convinced that this comes from Soul Eater.
Judging just this in terms of the character that is crafted, I like you guys sort of said. I think it's pretty good. It's an original sort of character design aside from the things that are sort of homages or taken from whatever. Like you guys were saying, I like the tail. It has this very like serpentine feel to it with the whole elongated neck and then the thin long body with this that goes like it's pretty much the same thickness as the start of the tail, and just it's sort of like it gives more of that almost out of hell kind of feeling to it. I think that works pretty well, and it's got that dark color to it, which also helps.
But yeah, design-wise, it's lovely art. It's very well done.
Yeah, I like the color choices.
But yeah, like, besides this, like, maybe we could use a little bit more backstory about his life as a Reaper. Or as the Reaper. I don't know.
Whatever.
Me, it kind of feels like he's... It's just... It seems like there was enough story about, like, the people that took over his job, and not that much for, like, the people who actually are, you know... Or himself.
That also makes me think of one more thing, because you mentioned that this character is part of a story, or has, like there's going to be a story in a comic. So, if the whole like what he actually did to have him get imprisoned is in the comic, that would be really cool. If it starts from the imprisonment, then I'd recommend, or unless you plan on going back later and explaining that in the comic, I would have what he does to get in there. Here, but I'm just going from how it's worded. I figure that they're going to talk about that in the comics, so I'm not going to fault them for not including it here.
Well then, that is it for our Bad OCs. Time for everybody's favorite part of the show, where we get to move on to voting. We are going to be presenting back in the same order that we showed. Let me tell you about who brought who this week. This week, I brought on Motorboard by Lethal... Mortarboard. Right? Yeah, Mortarboard by Lethal Aurora Mage. Commander brought in Citrus Sundrop by The Cat and Clouds. Medi brought in Limbatus by Apricity Orange. And then Smooth brought in Cloudy Bell by Internet Zombies. Commander, you went first this week, so tell us who you think is the best OC this week.
While I enjoyed all the OCs this week, I'd say I have to give my vote to Cloudy Bell. She was just really cute. I really like the ideas that I came up with her. I feel that I get more of an affinity for characters when I have like ideas about like stories they could possibly have and ways to improve them and stuff. So that's where I'm putting my vote.
I'm probably going to have to give it to Cloudy Belle as well. It's really super cute, styling, the big giant eyes, and definitely something about it definitely stands out.
I'm gonna vote for Citrus Sundrop.
I'm probably gonna vote for Citrus Sundrop as well.
Oh, snap! It's that time again then, folks.
Boy.
Time for a rock, paper, scissors battle between Commander and Smooth.
Okay. On shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. What'd you get?
Paper.
Scissors.
Cool.
Sweet!
Woo!
So, Citrus Sundrop wins this week. Congratulations to her and her designer, Cat in the Clouds. Next, we're going to take a look at Bad OCs. This week, for Bad OCs, I brought in BaconStrips by Esprit Errett. Commander brought in Saria by Creeper Pixie. Medi brought in Tsubasa by Twin Tiger Paw. And finally, Smooth brought in Musica Cherry by Crystal1235. Commander, your vote this week?
Oh God! Well, I mean, there were no OCs that like were really outright bad. I mean, I felt that BaconStrips was obviously very lacking, bland in my opinion, and then Tsubasa was. I mean, there was the whole Soul Eaters thing, which I'm like, whatever. I'm trying not to judge it too much on that. But then for Musica Cherry, she wasn't bad, but there's just so much discontinuity between like the different things that I felt were going on with this character that I'm gonna have to give my vote to Musica Cherry. Cherry.
I thought Musica Cherry, whatever, was really cute. I probably didn't say that in the actual part, but yeah, she's really cute. Tsubasa is very well done. I don't know Soul Eater. I don't know anything about it, so I think it's very cool. I mean, it's not super dark and edgy, but it's still kind of that, yeah, kind of dark feel. But Saria, just, yeah, the coloring and the talent and kind of, yeah, everything about that just kind of just didn't work for me. So yeah, I'm giving it to Saria this week.
I'm gonna agree with Modified and give my vote to Saria as well.
I think BaconStrip, due to her lack of anything really, was probably my least favorite of the night.
Well, alright then. Looks like Commander shuts down this week.
Shut down!
Takes both categories this week. If you have a OC that you want us to review, you can always submit it to us at a bunch of different locations that Minnie will tell you about right now.
Well, yeah, you can send in your OCs, your fan art if you want, and your questions to us at yourocsucks.deviantart.com, at yourocsucks@twitter.com, yourocsuckspodcast@gmail.com, yourocsuckspodcast.tumblr.com.
Fantastic. We want to welcome everybody to technically our second year of the show, this being our 51st episode, and we hope to have a lot of fun, interesting things for you guys this year, though we really are only planned out for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after this, so hopefully we will be on the ball for the rest of the year and bring you high quality content that makes everybody happy. We've got something planned for next week, but I don't want to say it quite yet, just on the off chance that we'll jinx it, so knock on wood. But do keep an eye out next week for a possible, maybe a special guest. But in the meantime, we hope to see you all again next week. My name is Modified Thunderbirds.
And he's been joined by Commander Sparkle.
Medi Bobo.
And Smooth Sailing.
And remember, your OC sucks.